Alright, so first zone's very, very, very central. You very rarely see a zone that looks like this. This is about as central as it gets, to be honest. In the play. You know? But like I said, they can completely play the isolation game, rotate all the way around the dead side. Colazo, does Colazo do the IGLing for this team? I assume he does. Colazo or Class has the idea of recalibration down, so they're not going to play into the central area where everyone is. They've sorted their surge. What they wanted to do is rotate to dead side, which when you recalibrate, which I've spoken about quite a lot now, will be around here. Does it look like any Colazo and Class take over? Oh, sweet. $579 above, so they're sorted on everything. It's a really nice rotation, and again, the fact that they fought off spawn and one off spawn allows them to make this rotation really, really safely. There's nothing wrong with them doing this. For any other team, a lot of the time, getting this isolated is a problem. And also, one thing to note, they didn't just sit on edge here. A lot of people may have decided to base up the bridge there or something like that. They've actually come off edge, which just again, it takes the amount of time it takes to make a rotation to the third. Just reduces that slightly, which makes a big difference. I'm surprised there's no more teams Coliseum. I'd probably be pretty tempted to like ramp up on top of Coliseum. And I probably wouldn't have played first zone like that. I would have completely disregarded what they did first zone, where they basically stayed in caddy for ages, and I would have I would have had someone set up here looking for tags on lazy, like there. And then first zone, I probably would have looked to take Speedy Hill or Muzz Hill. To be like zone like this, we're keying edge for sure. Yeah, fair enough. Because it's so difficult to find tags anywhere in this vicinity. The best places are Coliseum, which are really difficult for you guys to rotate to, Speedy. And then there's also Risky, which is like you're never getting to Risky because you've got to go through basically like 3 or 4 trios to get there or there. You can maybe try tags at Muzz Hill if you're not getting them. Rotate into like gas and look for a fight. You can generally find a fight at gas. Or like a triple spray or something like that. Which hill is Muzz Hill? Muzz Hill is the one just north of Lazy. This shit here. Alright. They get a nice easy rotation for them. They don't have to go too far. If I'm them, I'm going super early. I don't want to take too much time here. While these guys rotate past me, I want to go fucking like as early as possible. The longer you wait here, the more people get set up into the portions of zone that you want to try and take. And basically, like, it's what they're trying to do is get as far in here as they can. One thing I think is really important on these kinds of zones is actually to almost try and alpha anyone around you. I don't like the idea of possibly getting beamed on rotation in the sand and then being in the middle of everyone on a flat zone where you've got no natural cover, nothing. All you have is people staring at you. So I really, really like the idea of, in that scenario, instead of boxing up like they did, literally just pick one of these two teams to jump on top of. Not jump like jump on top of them and fight them, but either ramp these guys or ramp these guys. One of the either. Yoga stuff recently, Timmy. Cheers, kids. Appreciate that, bro. So yeah, one or the other. I think would be the better play. I mean, obviously I'm nitpicking there because they do really well these games, but that's just what I think is the better thing to do. And the really great thing about where they managed to rotate to, they got a nice early movement so that they weren't held. Everyone else was rotating as they were. The great thing is because they went early, they were able to get quite central. So they didn't just stop on edge, or they weren't forced to stop on edge. they kept on moving in. Now, if we look back, or if you can think back to the teams that we saw around them, over there, we had these guys over here, and I wonder if these guys rotated late or if they didn't rotate at all, and now they're sitting on edge. One thing for these guys to think about, so if you're these guys, so keep in mind we're talking about these guys. If you get a worst case scenario in a zone this congested, making that rotation, even in sand, is not easy. Again, you've got to think about if you get shot out of the sand, or if you take damage coming out of the sand, you're immediately attracting the attention of anyone surrounding you. So say they get a worst case scenario, you're going to have a bunch of teams congested here. You're going to have these guys, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, probably like 10 teams sitting on that edge there that you then have to rotate into. You're most likely going to get lobby focus unless you have that thought process of getting up. So in future, if I was these guys, I would have looked to rotate early. Instead, I think they've stayed there. So we'll go back. We'll let these guys play it out. So, like I said, the only reason I'm not a fan of them staying there is, for me, you've always got to be mitigating a potential worst case scenario, which would be that rotation there, which would not be easy for that team. So they're really nice and central here, which is actually quite good for them because it means that any rotation is relatively easy. Excuse me. Colazo sniped. And it doesn't really matter. I'd like to see them move early here again, which they do. Good sand movement, and they're happy to play on low, which I'm glad to see. Well, we'll just let this 4x out until we see their first moving rotation decisions. These guys are just looking for picks for damage for moving zones, but remember, they should be sorted off surge. Okay, first moving pulls fast. I wanna jump in between Class and Colazo because my guess is those are the guys who are going to be doing a majority of the IGL work. So the IGL work being both the tarping and then the decision making about when to go for picks, that sort of thing. So it pulls far, but of course they get as much distance as they can out of their thing here, and then out of their sand tunnel, and then Class is the one who takes over the tarping. Straight away, looking to establish a layer. Look at how quickly he's trying to get back ahead. That's his sole focus here, looking to get up, establish a layer rather than find one. You find a lot of people trying to find their layers these days. He's looking to establish one here, which is really good. And immediately, that may seem like a small thing to a lot of people, but that movement there, where he's getting himself 2 degrees of separation from threats there, I think is really important. He's given his teammates a bit of protection here with that ramp, and then he's cut across so that these guys aren't forced into an engagement with Chap's trio. Okay, so he's given them 2 degrees of separation. I'd also probably like to see them go up or down one just to create even more separation, both in the vertical, not only just the horizontal layer. But small movement, but really important. So if we look at Colazo and Derola here, they feel very safe. Of course, this pressure here is why I would have liked to see them either go up one more or drop down one. So this pressure here isn't as it's not as obvious or not as easy for Jukes to try and put that pressure on. And it may seem minimal, but 50 mats here and there can add up. So 150, 200, which in a late game scenario can make all the difference. So Class continuing, and again, try and think of the word establishing rather than finding when it comes to layers. You want to be the guy who's doing exactly what Class is doing here. Okay, you want to be the guy who's out front establishing your own layer. What you don't want to be is these guys back here who are trying to find their layer in amongst everyone else's. Okay, so there's a huge difference there. There's a huge sort of difference in mentality. One is being the first there and establishing yourself on the rest of the lobby, These other examples are trying to find your way through the lobby, okay? You want to be that dominant, you want to have that dominant play style when you're going through late game. So good, making sure everything is theirs. Now, one thing that I really learned from Hammy, Seti, and Teak was that they are all on the same page when zone is about to transition. It is, okay, let's stop looking for picks. Let's stop looking for any unnecessary aggression. Full focus is on our next rotation and how we're getting there and how we're going to, again, establish our layer before everyone else does. So everyone stops, they're getting prepared for their next rotation, and it pulls. What's their decision? Class, look at his focus here. His laser focus is pulling them to an edge while also trying to get them to the front. So some Riversan style tarps here, again focus on making sure everything's theirs. Riversan style tarping essentially just being keeping a portion of box inside your, a portion of zone inside your box, both laterally and then longitudinally as well. So across the X and Y plane, both ways. You're wanting some of zone in your box, and essentially that just means they don't have to worry about damage from this way, and they can leave this entirely open. And while that may seem silly for now, when you take it into account across 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tiles of rotation, you're not only saving, you know, it's not just 5 mats here, 10 mats there. It's actually, it adds up to be 100 to 200 to 300 to 400 as you continuously do it throughout all moving zones. It's like just the fundamentals, particularly on class, are really, really, really good. And so when you look at their fundamentals and break them down, again, like the idea of playing to one side being extremely important. Piece control, the understanding of when to go for picks and when not to. They're all on the same page, and I think particularly when you're talking about trios, you got 3 people, you want everyone to be on the same page to understand the core philosophy of what your team is trying to do. And just watching these guys play, not even hearing their comms, you get the impression that they totally understand what they're trying to do at all times, which is really, really good. Again, Colazo, absolute legend, man. I really appreciate the host, bro. So again, what I'm looking for here is the idea of, okay, everyone grouping up now, looking to be on the same page. So as soon as first moving comes in, as soon as first moving looks to go, they're all on the same page looking to get back to front zone. Again, we're looking for the idea of establishing a layer, not finding one, becoming the first ones to be there and then being able to play for picks off of that, okay? So it pulls far. Again, look at class's focus. I'm gonna say those words a lot. Proactivity, focus, all that sort of stuff. The focus of him to get them to the front of zone, to establish a layer, that is so important. Now, interesting, are they looking for height? You very rarely see teams looking for height these days throughout mid-game. That might have gotten them a little bit of focus on second height here. Let's see if they drop down. I like the intent there. A little bit different. How are we looking on mats? 400. So we've still got decent mats. They shouldn't be worried here because they're in third moving. But that did set them back a bit. Let's be real. Yo, what's up, you sellout gang? Bro, I'm all part of the sellout gang. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, feel free to subscribe. If you've got a Prime floating around, use it on me. It really helps me out if you're enjoying the content. This was their worst game? Yeah, man, if this was their worst game, far out. But you got to think, they've already got through to 7th, and again, that comes down to those fundamentals that they're playing with, and then it's basically eking out these last bits of placement as they come. What do they get themselves through to here? 6th. So I think there must be a 6th place for them. Allows it to go down. So 6th. So a 6th place there, man. The one thing that I've taken away from that is how strong the fundamentals are. Class's full focus on getting ahead, the way that they are all fully focused on rotation and getting back ahead to then look for picks, and then DeRoller and Colazo being happy to look out back. You know, that synergy that they have is so obvious to see, and I think that's why they did so well.